when my daughter was working on the for Aaron, she wrote an article in the Pakn Treger. And she then received, oh, this is a long story now. She then received a letter from someone who said that when he was married to a girl by the name, whose second name was Hirsch, her maiden name was Hirsch, and when she was a young girl, she was friends with a girl by the name of Dinah Wolofsky, who was the daughter of the publisher of the KlezKanada. And his father-in-law was an editor of the KlezKanada back in the, I presume it was before Reuben Brynan, but he was very religious and therefore did not believe in Zionism. And so when he was interviewed by my grandfather, this is all in the letter, when he was interviewed, he told him that, Mr. Wolofsky, I know you're a Zionist, but I am an anti-Zionist. I don't believe, I believe that the Mashiach has to come before we go back to Palestine and settle it. And my grandfather was so open that he said, you will publish articles which are anti-Zionism, and I hope you won't refuse to publish me when I put in my pro-Zionist editorials. And he says, this is to show you how open this Mr. Wolofsky was. Now, and he says this Dinah was drowned at the age of 7 or 8. Now I'm going to skip. My wife used to do antiquing. She'd go out to different, and one day she came back with this beautiful picture of a girl with a bow in her head. And she showed me this, but the idea was she had bought it because of the frame, because it was an old-fashioned frame, round, oval-shaped, with an oval-shaped glass on it. And she brought it home, and I said, that's very funny, I said, because when I was a kid, we used to have a picture like that in our house. I said, I don't remember if the girl is the same, but it was a very similar type of frame and with a picture of a girl. And my wife hung it up sort of on the stairway. And my mother comes to visit, and she said, where did you get a picture of Dinah? And my wife says, Dinah? Well, Dinah was my husband's sister who drowned. And, Mummy, I just got this in an antique store. No, it's a picture of Dinah. And I would say, Ma, Kay got it in an antique barn in Hudson. And no, it's a picture of Dinah. We never thought about it. My mother was losing. I said, she's mistaking because. Now, move forward about 10 to 15 years, and we had the remaining uncles. My Uncle Dan had passed away, so we had my Uncle Max, who had taken over the KlezKanada when my father died. My Uncle Max and two of the people who are in this picture, and the 3 people who are at the house, and having supper, and my cousins, and we're all sitting around the table. And we, talking about my daughter Sandy working at that she got. Did any of them remember this Mr. Hirsch? And my Uncle Max remembered him. And he says, I was very young, but I do remember him. And we read the letter. And they're all talking about Dinah and this experience. Because my Uncle Max, who at that time was in his 90s, and his daughter, who was with us at the time, says, he says, I always felt guilty about her because, he says, my mother said to us, we were with this Mr. Gold, and he had this boat, and then the water was rushing, and his mother had said, don't any of you go in the boat because it's dangerous. And Dinah got in the boat, and I said to her, Mommy said you shouldn't, and I hope you drown. And then she did drown, and he said, I always felt guilty. And my cousin said, I never heard this story. And my wife walked downstairs, picked up the picture, and showed this picture. Who is this her? And they all looked at her and say, where did you get the picture of Dinah? And I said, what? Yes, that's Dinah. So now you had 3 siblings who identified that picture. So here you are, my wife antiquing 50 kilometers, 50 miles away from Montreal in a barn, picking up a picture of Dinah. And of course we made copies of it and gave it to all the siblings and their children and told the story. But the important thing is that this letter came to us because my daughter worked at the National Yiddish Book Center and got this letter through the Pakn Treger.